This leg here I seen done at the, by the way, my name's Doug Brinks. I don't know if I said that yet today, but I'm Doug Brinks. And the Kalamazoo group, there's a Kalamazoo Woodturners Guild that Bruce here is the president of. I belong to that one too. Several of us here belong to that one. They meet the Saturday before I meet. During the pandemic, they had Ernie Conover there, that he does a lot of furniture and stuff, and he did a demonstration on these Cabriole Legs that I have on that table. So that was where I got the idea from, and we decided we needed another table, so I thought, well, that'd be a perfect demonstration to do. It's something I don't think we've seen here yet. So I'm starting out here. I've got, this is for the tall leg. I got walnut here. I did it with on that table. I used sapele, which really turns beautifully. I'm using walnut here. The first thing you do is get your blank. This blank is 1 3/4 by 24 inches, and then I've marked it at 7 5/8. This is where go ahead and get top view. This is where the pommel is going to be. So this is my pommel, this is going to be my shaft, and this is going to be my foot. You can see I've drawn a foot here to kind of get an idea how this is going to lay out on there. First thing you're going to need to do is you need to mark one edge here, right down the whole thing. This is going to be my reference edge for setting up my offsets. And it's going to be, that edge is going to be where the toe is at on my drawing. The pommel here I've made about 2 inches longer than needed. If you're going to put a mortise in there, it's nice to have this extra wood up on top here so you don't get a chip out. You know, once you've got your mortise all cut, then you can cut these all down to size. But if you're going to put a mortise in there, you're going to want to leave a little extra in there just so it doesn't chip out while you're making the mortise. Now the trick with doing these legs is I'm going to offset this, and when this is turning offset, I want it to be near center right here where the top of the shaft is and the bottom of the pommel is, because if that's offset, it won't match. So the trick is to find this offset on the top and bottom to do that. So what I've done here is I've drawn my foot on there, and my bottom of my foot here is about 5/8 of an inch thick from here to here. So what I've done is I've found the center line of what the shaft is here at the bottom of the narrowest point. And I didn't really get that drawn in or really close to center, but it's close. So you find where that line is. That's my dotted line here. That's the center of the shaft. Right here is the center of the blank. And also here's the center of the blank. And then up here is also the center of the blank. So to find this union, to get my offset so that this union spins true, I'm going to go down on the bottom here where my center of my shaft is at the bottom of the blank, and I'm going to get that spot, which is right here. And then I'm going to move my ruler here until I hit the center part here. So I'm going to go from here to the center point there. And then up here, that's the offset for the top. Down here where this line comes out is the offset for the bottom, where my, right there is. This line is the pad for the foot, so don't pay any attention to that. I'm going to have a pad foot on that. So then you draw this out. So now up here, you measure this, which is 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to go up on top here, and my reference is here, because this is the toe end of my piece. So I'm going to come up here, and then from the center, I've already got an indent here for the center point, and then I put another point here for the offset, 1/4 of an inch towards this reference line.
So 1/4 of an inch on the diagonal?
On that diagonal going towards the reference line, yeah. So we're measuring this on the diagonal because this foot is going to aim straight here. It's not going to be like it shows here. It's going to be, the toe of the foot is going to be right here. So, and then this will all get hollowed out. So that's why we got to keep track of this reference line. So now on the bottom here, you measure this difference between the center of this shaft in the center of the blank, and that's 7/16 of an inch. So now on the bottom, going the opposite way of the toe, I got my center, and then I've got my 7/16 mark. So that's the bottom offset. So with the bottom and the top offset, when I put that in there, it should be very true somewhere right here in this area where I can blend the top and the bottom without having an offset. So that's the tricky part. So once you have that done, if you're making 4 of them, yes, George. I continue this offset from this line here, just on here. I guess I don't understand your question.
Whenever your diagonal line,
Yeah.
you project that to the end of the piece?
Yes. Yes. And this isn't really a diagonal line, it's straight. I just found the center here, and then I projected it to the end. Is that the question?
Did you get a camera shot on that?
Top camera, please. So yeah, so I found the center of my shaft here, and then I didn't do it diagonally, I did it straight. Whatever the center is here, I did that straight to the end.
We're talking about the top.
On the top? On here, I did it diagonally all the way to the end, yeah. Yeah, projected it right to the very end. Because if you made this plumbo shorter, then that would make that bigger. You know, it would change where it comes out. So yeah, so I start with my bottom here, right where the center is of the shaft, my dotted line, through the center point here, and I project this right to the very end of my piece, and that's the offset up there. And then I measure between that and the center line to get the offset, which is 1/4 inch. Can you see that? Got it? Okay. So now I can chuck this up on centers. And if you're making 4 of these, 3, 4, whatever you're making, make all these blanks at once. Cut them all, sit down, measure your first one, figure out your offsets, separate the board and put all the pricks up there for all of them. Use your awl and do it all at once. So all of them you've done at the same time. That way, the rest of them, it's really pretty easy to get them all to look the same with this leg. It's pretty easy if you follow that. So I want to get my my pummel. That's my 7 3/8, 7 5/8 from the top. I want to mark that again on 2 sides so I can easily see it while it's spinning here. So that's my top. Here's my bottom. Here's my foot. My pad foot here goes right to the very bottom. So when you look at my legs, you can see it's still there, the marks. The marks from me turning. If you don't want those marks on the bottom of your foot, you need to add another 1/4 inch here so you can part that off and not have the marks from the lathe there. On my top, that's all going to get cut off when I cut this down to size. So it depends on how you are. I'd leave it there because people can look at it and see that I actually turned that. And I'm just going to make sure when I cut that later, and I'll point out later, I take out all up to that dot. I don't want to hit that dot or go past the dot because it's too small. And if you hit it, you got like a hole there, So you want to make sure that you turn just up to the dot. So the first thing I'm going to do, is plug in the lathe. Oh no! Did that land on the tip?
We can't see, but
course. Let's see if it's this side. Yeah, I was afraid of that. So the first thing I'm going to do is see if we got a 12-inch tool rest here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this line down to where it's round, get past the square part. Because that'll be the top of my shaft, and I've got to get past all the flat areas here. So I'm going to turn that round and develop a little curve there. Now, if you're a skew master, you have to do this with a skew. But I'm not a skew master, and I like my, my detail gouge for this kind of work, so I'm going to use my detail gouge. I want to get it just round, but I don't want to go into the wood. So I still got some flat spots here, top camera. I still got some flat spots here that I need to get past. On the bottom side, I can take as much of this away as I want, because this is all going to go away. But my top, I have to be careful, because this is going to be a rounded edge, and I don't want to mess that up. So my top, my cuts here, I'm going to be very careful and very smooth with them. Because also I don't want to have to sand that radius. Oh, and I went through. Okay, I'm past it. I'm a little farther than I meant to go, so got carried away with making this radius, and I chipped out here. So hopefully I can sand that away. I have to live with that for now. So, all right, so now what I'm going to do is make this round from here on to the bottom, round. And I'm going to use my my roughing gouge for doing that. So you know, I'm thinking about this chip up here. I think I'm going to try and turn that out a little more. It's going to bring my wing up a little bit, but if I get up a little up here, I think I can sand that out. Yeah, maybe I'll just leave it. I have one more I can do. So. You see when I do this, I'm not out here swinging my arms around. I've got my tool on my side, and I've got my hand on the tool rest and on the top of my thing, and I'm moving my whole body to do this. It keeps it steady, keeps it straight, and you get a much better, you get a nice straight line doing that. I'm already smooth there, so. They call that dancing with the lathe. I can feel where it's not flat, right starting there, it's not flat, not round. And unfortunately, I went a little too deep here with that line, so I've got to take off a little more here than what I planned on. Now you could do a bead here or something. I've thought about that. Bringing it in, do a bead, come back out. I don't know if I'd like that enough, so I never have done that, but I always think about it. Let me see, what do I want? Oh, I want to blend that. The best way to blend that is with a skew top camera. I like to use a skew to blend into this curve here. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to get just the edge of that. Just come in there slowly. Okay. So there's my top. And I can sand all the rest of this out. I wasn't able to turn that chip out, but I'll sand that down and get rid of it. Fill it or something. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to offset this. On both sides. So I'm going to offset it to my mark up here on the top, 1/4 inch. Right there. And then down here, if I could see this. Oh. A little dark here. I could use the light. Hang on, I got it. Thanks. Okay, so now I'm offset. Yeah, I might do that. So otherwise I got to turn one more leg. Yeah, but this is on the back too. I see my toes going this way, so this is the back of the table. Nobody's going to see that. So I could just leave that there. Okay, so here's my offset, and I am pretty close to being, turn on the top camera. You can see I'm pretty close to being centered here. So that was the measurement, it worked. So now I'm coming down to the bottom here, and I'm going to set my tool rest so it's just barely off the back here. And the first thing I'm going to do is, I'm going to turn my foot. I should have put a pad on there, darn it. Hang on, I got to back this back off. Didn't put my pad on the bottom of the foot. I want to get my pad here, and I'm just going in a little bit, just so I can get an idea where it's going to be. I can't go in all the way because I don't want to turn away the area that I need to go to for my offset. I need to leave enough area there for that. So I'm going to turn that. I'm going to soften the edge just a little bit, just so I can get an idea where that foot's going to be. And then what I'm going to do is my foot's going to be like right here. Put on the top camera. My foot's going to be right here. Whoops. Whoops, I didn't want to do that either. So my foot's going to be right here, and then it's going to come down and then go up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in like right there, and I'm going to start my curve for the shaft. And I'm going to start this with, but I got to offset it first. Now I'm going to get back to my offset. Okay, that's on it there. I see a light coming. Okay, this one's right there. Okay. Now, right there's the top one. There it is. All right, thank you. Okay, so there's my offset. So now I'm going to turn my foot using my roughing gouge. I'm going to get my speed up until it starts to vibrate. It's not going to vibrate, so that's great. Do the top camera when I'm turning, because they can. Okay, I've got it down there. Can you see the ghost line? You really can't see that from there. Try side camera, does it? Oh, it's not going to show that, is it? Well, you can kind of see the ghost line. I'm not to the shaft yet, so I'm going to turn this down until I get to the shaft, or just almost there. And I'm turning a lot of air, so I like to use my bowl gouge if I'm turning a lot of air. Now that it's kind of too tight to get in there with that other one. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to try and see the top here. It's just not so aggressive, and it's easier when you're cutting a lot of air to get a clean cut in there. I mean, I could do it with my spindle gouge, but I'm more have to get a chunk to tear out, you know. Okay, let's see what we got here. Still got a flat spot on the back here. So I want to get that so there's just barely a flat spot. And this edge here, I want a nice clean cut because it's almost my final. So this side, once again, it doesn't matter with the cut because I'm going to tear all this out. But this side here, I want to start working on getting a nice clean cut because I'm getting close to final. So I still got to get a little more taken off there. And at this point, it's not a bad idea to get out a finished one and compare the foot. I'm a little smaller on the foot here also. So I'm going to want to take just a little more off that. So, but I'm getting close. Just a touch here. I want to go just a little more. I want a little bit of a flat spot there, but not very much. And I like that right there. It's a little bit of flat, but it's almost round. When I sand, that'll round that off the rest of the way, and that blends right in with the back of the foot. So there's my foot profile.
It's, I can live with that. So now, all I do is take off the rest of this to make the taper to the top. That seems like that's going to be really hard to do, but it's actually not that difficult, because while I'm turning this, there's a flat spot coming around. This flat spot here, I can feel coming around. And up everything above this, I want to take away the flat spot. So what I can do here, I can feel it when I'm turning, but I'm going to draw a mark on here so I can show it. But at home, you can feel that. You don't need to draw a line on it. But it runs from the center of this right to the center of that post there. This is the flat spot. So I'm just putting that mark on there so that I can stop and show you how much I haven't gotten yet. But once you take that flat spot out, you're done. The taper is perfect. If you go beyond the flat spot, then you'll end up where the spot in the taper was too small. But if you can just barely take the flat spot off all the way to the top, your taper will be perfect from the top to the bottom. So I'm just going to start taking off the top. And I can see a shadow here, so I can tell when I'm getting close. See, I still got quite a flat spot. Okay, my flat spot's gone here. See, and I can feel that it's gone in the middle here. I can feel that that's gone. I can feel there's a little more there and there. So, but you don't, like I said, you don't need to see that. You can feel it when you're turning it, and just kind of put your hand on there. So I'm going to try to take a little nicer cut now, because I'm getting closer, and maybe get my speed up a little more. When I put my hand on here, I can kind of feel it as I'm going. And if it starts making noise, it's making marks. You know, so if it starts vibrating, you're leaving vibration marks on your piece of wood. So you either slow it down or I put my hand on back to dampen the vibration. So that feels really good. So now I'm going to move to the top here. And I can feel I got a little bit there in the middle, none here, and at the top. So I'm going to get this spot. You can see that I got like a little spot here. I went too much. I'm going to get a little bit here. It looks a little fat right there. So now I'm just up to the top here, and Is there a question? 2,400. Speed is my friend. No, I don't want to touch that edge because yeah, I'm not centered. So right there, my shaft is done. Look at the back, my mark's gone, my taper is nice. I can sand this a little bit. And I gotta hit this up here yet, so, and I missed the spot there. I didn't, yeah, I think I can turn that, so, or sand that. Let me, I'm gonna quick sand this. So I'm gonna turn this all the way down. Okay, so I am going to put this back on center now. And try to clean up this edge right here. I got a spot there that looks pretty ugly. So, and now I got around the foot here. So let me do that first. I'm going to take my pad down just above the my offset mark. I'm going to get it going forward so that my gouge works. Side camera. Can you hit the side camera? If you look at here, you can see my oh, I got 2 marks there, so I must have hit 2 different spots trying to get that on there. So I don't want to go much farther because I don't want to break out where that's at. So maybe I'll get just a little more of this pad. And then I'm going to turn it around. Oh, I wanted to work on the top here. It feels like I'm off center still. Still missed the mark there. I think I hit the wrong mark down there and I put an extra line up here somehow. Let me take one more pass at this. I guess I'm going to have to try and sand that out. For some reason, I'm not hitting that. I had 2 marks down here where I offset it. Well, I only have the original 2 here, but I look at the bottom now, I got 3. So one time I tucked it up at a different spot. So I think it changed my eccentrics. I have much better lighting at home in my shop than I do here. So I'll have to sand that out, which I can sand that out. So that's that leg with my chip and all. Yeah, I'll decide when I get home if I'm going to use that or if I'll try to do a better one. So now on to this other leg.
You want us to look for that chip and clean up?
Okay, so this one here, I'm going to put this on center. And this leg is a lot less measuring and more just how you feel about, what you're doing. There's So the same thing here. I put a reference line on, so that I know where the front of my foot's going to be, which is here. And I've just, when I made my leg a week ago, I just randomly picked 2 spots offset when I offset it and thought, oh, that looks good, and turned it without measuring anything. I took measurements later, but I didn't take notes on when I cut this out how far I went with these curves. So if you're doing, once again, if you're doing 4 of these, you're going to want to make notes or do them all right the same day so you remember how far you went with these curves, because it's just kind of like scooping out the wood and then and then flipping it around and scooping out some more wood. I'm going to start out by so I've already marked my offsets, they're just random. I think I went 3/4 on the top and 5/8 on the bottom to get an offset on that. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put another mark on there so I can see that when it's turning around. See where my pommel is at. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to round this and then go right to the bottom and make it round.
And I'm going to use my roughing gouge to start out here. Okay. This cut doesn't really have to be as smooth as I'm making it, because it's all going to get changed, but it doesn't hurt. Some of that might still be there on the back of the foot. But right now I'm just trying to make it round. I'm getting deeper into the curve. When I get deeper in the curve, I'd like to get a smaller tool, less apt to get a catch. I can still see my line there, so I know that there's a, I didn't quite get all the way through. Let's see what it looks like here. I got a big flat spot there and here. So I still got, and I got my lines there. You can see my lines in some of the spots there. So got more to go. Now, if you were making 4 of these, once again, it probably would behoove you to lay that on there before you got started and mark where the tops of these were. Right there, I'm almost there now, so I really don't want to cut much more than that if I'm going to make these somewhat the same. I'm almost exactly where I need to be. So I'm not going to cut back any farther on this, but I'm going to go a little deeper there. And once again, this, I want a nice clean cut on this. I don't want to have to sand this too much. All right. So there's my first cut. I'm round. I got a nice cut here. No chip out this time, which I was more afraid of this one chipping out than that other board. So I see I got some open grain here though. So I don't know if that's a ring shake or what. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the offsets here. I'm going to offset that to my, I think what I say on the top was 5/8. 3/4 on the top, and then where's my bottom one? There it is. You know, it'd probably help if I made that a little bigger. So I can find it again. Okay, so I'm offset there. I'm going to both offsets at once here. Or should I do just one? How do I do this? I'm going to offset just the top. Hang on, I'm just the top. So I'm offset the top. I'm going to leave the bottom straight. On the other leg, you go to both of them at the same time. So I'm doing just the top. I'm going to get my tool rest, so it's just off the quarter of that. And I'm going to divide this out into 3s, which I probably should have marked that before I flipped it over, but if I use my Fibonacci rule here, and I actually put this in the 3rds, right there is the center. So there's my 1/3 mark. So I did not do that with the other one that I made, but thinking about that later, I'm like, I probably should have done that just because I'm such a believer of the Fibonacci rule. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut from up here and make a curve. I'm going to cut this out until it's round here in the middle. So, and I'm going to probably go past this line a little bit, and when I do the bottom one, I'll go past it also a little bit. So I'm going to turn my speed all the way down here. Make sure everything's tight. And see how fast we can get this going without scaring people in the front row too much. Use my bowl gouge to start with here, my roughing gouge I mean. And my center point is like right here between those 2 marks. So I'm going to just kind of take out the middle here. And if I find I'm jumping around too much, I would like to go a little faster here. Oh yeah, we're good. All right, I'm gonna go to my bowl gouge here. And I can see the ghost of the middle to see how much farther I got to go. I got about probably a quarter of an inch yet before I'm to the round part. And I'm going to start going beyond my line here now. And just about there. I got a big flat spot yet. I thought I was almost there, but I got a ways to go. Let me see if I can get back in there with my smaller roughing gouge. Yeah, don't like that. Oh, that looks good. Yeah, let's see if we can clean this up a little bit. Oh man, I went way past it. I didn't want to go past that. Got in the groove, you know. So now I can sand that a little bit. Oh, I got a big gouge here I need to get out from that other roughing gouge. Okay, I can sand the rest of that out, I believe. My tool's feeling a little dull. So let me get my sandpaper out here. I'm going to quick sand this. Okay. Now, I'm going to put the top back to center, and we're going to offset the bottom. No, the foot's down here. The foot was down here. When I did the other one, the pommel was at the top. Okay, so I can still see my line there. I'm going to get here as close as I can. I probably should turn that foot a little bit. Hang on. I'm going to turn just a little bit of the foot so I can kind of visualize what it's going to look like here. And I'm going to put the lathe in forward so that my tools work. And I'm not going to do that very often, but once in a while I do that. Jeez, oh Pete. So, there's kind of my foot. So, how bad was that? I can still get to my offset here. So now I'm offset this way. I'm going to turn this whole bottom and then figure out what to do with my mess there after I'm done with this. So now I'm going to turn this from here up to my point here. And so my bottom of my gully is going to be right here of my bead. Or not my bead, but my cove. I can see my lines up here, so now we're just doing this way. And I believe the other day, I went and cleaned this up a little bit. Trying to remember how I did this a week ago when I made the first one. Seems like I came through here and worked on that curve a little bit. So now let's see how bad this gouge is here that I made. And it chipped out there. This is the board I was afraid was going to chip out more than the other one. And I still got to get that round. So
I would like to get this almost round, not quite round. I'd like to have a little bit of a flat spot there.
Just a little more, because I'd like to get rid of some of this. I like that the meat. It's meating on this side, but I got a little bit of edge there. So let me try to take just a little more off that. I think that'll work. So now I'm going to get the rest of my foot in there. I'm going to taper this down. I'm going to take off the second hole that was there for the offset. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to just quickly
Take my palm sander and take off all these edges. Except for up here. I want those edges. Okay, that's kind of rough sanded there, but that's it. You want to pass that around. So,
You don't want to pass them both around?
sure. I know where the other one's at. Is it up here? How close am I? Let's see. See how close I am. Here we go.
Let's get them on a camera here.
How close is that? Can you get a?
Where's the camera? Oh, here we are. Trying to get out of the way of it. Here, you do it.
It's pretty close. Yeah. I could live with that.
Yeah. If
So-
they didn't work out, you can always make a candlestick out of them.
That's right. All right, so that's it. Any questions?
The only question I was wondering is a storyboard kind of, you were talking about, you want to make sure you mark them all at the same time. Is a storyboard, if you were doing more than 4,
Yeah. I don't think you would need a storyboard still. You might be able to just mark 3 spots on there and then work from there, you know. Like my Fibonacci mark, I could have done that right away, but with the other one, with the long leg, I don't. Yeah, the only storyboard would be you could do your storyboard for here and for this spot here, and but the rest you can easily just get this close and it matches. So, yeah, I don't know if a storyboard would really help, but you know what a storyboard is? You got a piece of wood with all your marks on it for your duplication, you know, so you can just carry them onto the piece. So, pardon me? It was 3/4 on the top and 5/8 on the bottom. My cheat sheet was attached to the newsletter. So anybody wants to try and do that. Plus we'll have this video online in the next week or so. So if you want to try and make it, you can do that. And I think that's it. That wraps this meeting. We'll do a raffle table here, but online we're all set, and we'll see everybody next month.